What I noticed in myself is like when I'm going through something or like I'm going through a certain event that then activates, a lot of heartache or pain. It's like on one level, the heartache and pain is in relationship to what's happening currently in my life, but it's also related to stuff that happened, throughout my life, mostly in like early childhood. So what I notice is like as the pain starts to activate those parts, I find myself regressing in a way to doing certain activities that I did as a kid. Like I'll give you an example. Recently, I was experiencing just like a lot of pain coming up, right? And I took out a journal and I was just like writing about like what was coming. And it was like very spontaneous. It was like very free flowing. And out of nowhere, I found like my hand just started like moving in a certain direction with the pen. I didn't know what was happening, but I just continued on with it. And bro, I ended up like drawing on the paper what I used to draw as like a 5-year old. And I had no recollection of this until that very moment when I realized what I had just drawn. Like I was just like experiencing this pain and my hand was just moving, and out of nowhere I was like, holy fuck. Like what the fuck did I just draw? And then the memory got reignited of how I used to draw this as a kid and in like elementary school whenever I was like sad and trying to like, just like going through whatever I was going through as a kid. So it was like so interesting to see as an adult how like this is like, these impressions are hard grained inside of us, and like when certain activities arise or certain events happen, it like can activate some of these earlier identities, and all of a sudden you find yourself doing things that you did as a kid to cope with the pain.
The fact that you drew the same image that you drew as a kid, I mean, like what is that?
Yeah, because I remember like it was like and it was like very emotional. Like when I realized like what had happened, I was like a little bit teary eyed. I was like, "Fuck, like dude, what's going on here?" Like it was like the child in me, like the inner child, like basically expressing, "Hey, like I'm still here. Like you've forgotten about me for all these years, but I'm
Mm.
still fucking here." And like that recognition was like the child drawing through me, and then me realizing like, "Holy fuck," the reason I experienced a lot of this pain and the sadness is because I've kind of like cast this child aside and just continued on my life as an adult, but the child is still in deep pain. Because I remember as a kid, like whenever I would experience like, various types of pain or emotional things, I would quite literally, start drawing. And it was like a very
Mm.
particular type of drawing. It was like making a border of a page, right? And like it was so wild to me because as an adult, I hadn't thought of that drawing forever, like over 20 plus years. And just to see yourself randomly start drawing it and then realize what's happening, it was like, oh my God, like this is, dude, it was fucking crazy.
What could people do to like start accessing that themselves? Is there anything you can do other than feel the pain you felt as a child in when, let's say, you're not feeling pain, to access the childlike part of yourself that you're repressing or pushing down? What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, with like all my answers, I don't know anything, but, dude, that's what I love these calls. It's like I was so hyped for this podcast, like all the pods, because I learned so much. It's like a live inquiry, right?
Yes.
And it's
Yes.
like, dude, I have no idea like what's gonna happen. And this was so exciting. And by the end of it, I was like, whoa, like, dude, that was fucking amazing. The same way that like I ended up drawing that thing on these podcasts. It's the same thing that happens.
Hmm.
But it's like a different flavor where like the treasures are revealed that have been here all along. But like, it took this podcast, it took this event to happen in order for me to realize and tap into these treasures. And that's why I hold these conversations in such a sacred respect, because I think they're an opportunity to reveal the treasures that are deeper that usually we don't get the opportunity to actually shed light on. So based off that,
That
I
was a
think
great way to filibuster.
dude, I needed to draw. I needed some time to think. The thinking was happening in the background. Danny's like, you know how many podcasts I've done? I know when people are fucking filling in time. I forgot I'm on the greatest podcast of all time. Anyways, what I realized is like, I think the most important thing to kind of allow these things to happen is to stop filling in the internal holes and actually allow the hole to be revealed. Right. And what I mean by that is when X event happens, whether it's positive or negative, either way, it's fine. Right. If something happens, it usually activates a wound. Right. If it's like something like bad, quote unquote, it activates a wound. And our habitual tendency is to kind of play whack-a-mole with ourselves, right? We start to experience something and then it's like, boom, whack that shit. Like cover it up. Like maybe cover it up with like drinking or like, you know, going on benders like I've done in the
Bubble
past.
trouble.
Bubble trouble or like whatever it is. And I think there's a time and a place. Like sometimes a lot of the pain is quite difficult to actually tap into. So you want to be very gentle. It's not like you're, you know, a drill sergeant, like go into the pain, go into the pain. Like none of that bullshit. It's only going to make it worse. But essentially the tendency is to play whack-a-mole with ourselves and to fill up the hole as quickly as it arises. But in many ways, when we quickly fill up the hole, we're prolonging our prison sentence, right? Because the hole is coming up, something has activated it, and now it's arising to be met with awareness and with compassion and love. And once you meet it with compassion and love, easier said than done, right? But once you meet it with compassion and love, it melts. And it's like it melts and fades back into your true glory. And then you realize what was actually missing inside that hole starts to reveal itself in the real quality you reconnect with. So when we fill up the hole with whatever we fill up the hole with, we just extend our prison sentence, right? We continue to think that we're a certain type of individual with a certain type of story, and we prolong this entire life of conditioning that really keeps us quite limited. So the mindset switch that's been very crucial in my own life is when things arise and the holes start to, you know, expose themselves, to actually place more attention on what's happening and to stay with it. Like, I think the only thing you really have to do is stay with your experience, and it will start to unfold and unravel and start to reveal its deeper gifts and its deeper treasures. But the difficulty, of course, and I do this all the time, is sometimes, you know, as the holes get revealed, we spend our entire life trying to keep it covered. So when it gets revealed, the habitual tendency is to quickly plug it in, quickly fill it up, right? And that's what society kind of encourages us to do. So we're supported by society to fill up the holes as soon as they're revealed and just put on a mask and just go through our day. But if you can cultivate time, you know, like whenever I'm going through something, like I'll just continue with business as normal, but like in the evenings, I'll usually set aside time to just sit with whatever is arising and just like be there as it's arising and not try to control my experience, not try to change it, because that just makes it worse, right? Like trying to like judge yourself for being in prison is only going to extend the prison sentence. Trying to like change your prison sentence is only going to extend your prison sentence. It's only when you sit with the fact that you're in prison and you feel the emotions, do the bars to the prison cell open, and you reclaim your freedom.
That's a bar. No pun intended.
Oh shit, I didn't even realize.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, because it's the resistance of being in this fucking awful state that perpetuates it. It's like, and if you just think about it practically, right? Like, let's actually take a prisoner, like a real life prisoner who is in their sentence and they're like, fuck this shit. I don't want to be here. This is a waste of my time. I'm so mad that I'm here. I shouldn't have been here. This is fucked up. This is such a travesty. This is a mistake. Like, they made a mistake. I shouldn't have been here. And they think these thoughts over and over again, versus the prisoner who says, okay, I'm here right now. I am going to make this prison as clean as possible. I'm going to be a leader in this prison. I'm going to help this prison because I've accepted the fact that I'm here, even though I was wrongly accused, even though I'm a prisoner. And so what am I going to do with this situation of being in the prison? I'm going to help it as much as I can. You take those two different ways in which a prisoner could approach being in a prison. Which prisoner is going to get out fastest? Who's going to get the shorter sentence? Who's going to get their time to, like, I don't know what it's called when you get a prison sentence done early, but that, right? Like, who's going to have a shorter sentence if they were both equal and they're both coming up for the ability to be free soon? It's like, of course, the prisoner who treats their time with gratitude and who accepts that they're there. So it's interesting how our minds and ourselves work the same way. When we feel like we're in prison, it's like, okay, well, if you're in prison, make it the best prison you can imagine. And then maybe you'll get out. You definitely will if you accept it, which is a fascinating human nature thing. And you know what's interesting is like, if you take that analogy, sometimes you won't get out, right? Right? Sometimes you won't get out, but how will your time be spent better? And what will you find will bring you and the people around you more love?
Right. I think like what's really interesting about that analogy is like I think in order to become like prisoner number two, a lot of people will have to first allow themselves to actually be prisoner number one.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And like if you don't allow yourself to be prisoner number one, you won't get to that point of acceptance.
Yes.
So to actually allow yourself to be like, fuck this shit, I'm in fucking prison, I didn't do jack shit, fuck these guys, fuck these guards, you know? Fuck that guy that snitched on me. Like you gotta get into that energy. And maybe not act it out. I think that's where it comes. That's the difference, right? Like a lot of prisoners would act it out, get in fights, you know, do whatever, and extend their prison sentence as a result of their quote unquote bad behavior. But there is a difference also in just being like, yo, this is fucked up. Like I don't deserve to be here. This is fucking bullshit. And then allowing yourself to, you know, go there will allow you to make peace with what's actually happening. And then in return, acceptance will naturally arise and you'll make the most out of the prison sentence.
Well, and that's the thing too. I think our world has put a negative connotation around being in negative states or feeling negative feelings. And, you know, if you just take the term like wallowing in your emotions or like that is assuming that for you to feel your emotions is inherently a bad thing because you are not allowing yourself to do something. You're not distracting yourself with something. You're just sitting in the feeling. So therefore that's a bad thing. Right? I mean, that's what I see. I see
1000%. I mean, that's been like my entire life story.
In what way?
Dude, like you know, even everything that I was doing with Delusion Land, it was like a way to avoid all the negativity inside me. Right? Let me become super fucking delusional and just be all positivity because I feel so much of this fucking heartache inside me. So as a cope, let me invent Delusion Land. It was like out of necessity in response to the underlying discomfort.
Yeah.
But what I've realized and like, you know, the mission quote unquote that I've been on recently that I'm like very juiced about is like, bro, I just want to experience one day as like a real human being.
Well, yeah. This is the thing. You're so elevated. You can't possibly be a real human being, Tej. That's the thing. You have to come back down as peasants.
Bro. Dude, it's so, you know, it's like
I just want to experience one day. Who are you, dude? You're doing it. What do you mean?
I mean, like it's like I have like hits and flashes, right? Of what it actually means to be a real human being. And dude, it just like melts me. Dude, it's the most wildest experience of all time. I'm like, whoa, like what are we? Like, what is this? You know? And I, in comparison, see how normally, even when I think I'm free, and I think there's levels, right? So I'm not like saying this out of judgment to myself. I'm just like saying it objectively based on the contrast. I see how like much of my behavior is very conditioned, right? Like how a lot of my thoughts aren't my own, how the various decisions that I make, they feel conscious to me in the moment, but if I like can like, you know, root those decisions, they're not really mine. And it's very painful to have distance between you and yourself. And I've been really sensing into that. I've been sensing into the space that exists between me and myself. And in that space is like where I make all these decisions in order to reconnect with myself, but those decisions are based on disconnection. So I just recreate more disconnection.
Mm.
So
Can you root in like a practical thing or like a situation that would have happened or something like
yeah,
that?
I mean, yeah, let's see what arises. Let's, because like,
We
and
can
I'm
sit in
just gonna
silence too if you if the filibustering doesn't want to come through until it arises.
sometimes we gotta talk for like 2 minutes in order to like arrive at the central point, and then I'll zoom in on it, you know.
Love that.
But what I've been realizing is, even right now, I just caught myself into going to like a bullshit spiel. It's funny.
Maybe that's part of the you.
This is the example right here, bro. This is a live example. Right? This is such a good example. Actually, it's a very good example because like instead of actually just sitting with the discomfort right now, my mind will be like, you know what I've been realizing, Danny, right? Like now I'm gonna waste like the listeners like 2 minutes of their time talking about some bullshit that I'm realizing. Instead of just sitting with the discomfort of being like, I don't know, what is the real example? Let me actually tune in and check in and see what arises. It's very different. Even the flavor, even the change in my voice right now, for instance, it's very different compared to, you know, Danny, what I've been realizing. Like that's just like fucking, it's not real at all. And like even right now, me expressing that, I feel more real by actually sharing that than I would have based on whatever the fuck I was realizing, whatever the fuck I was gonna say.
Yeah.
And I think that is so precious. Like I think to reach the top of the world while being real is a completely different life experience that I think is very rare. And it's the only thing that will fulfill me to my core. Like it will quench my entire being, right? I'm in deep thirst. I'm in deep thirst for realness. And realness is ultimately just the truth of who and which you are. And I think we all crave this. It's like an unconscious need that we all crave that then manifests as the desire to like build $1 billion company. But really, if you zoom in on the core desire, it's to reconnect with yourself in a very deep way. So yeah, I just want to experience one day as a real human being. One a long time, bro. One day is a long time.
Yeah, but my image of you in my head is that you are a real human being.
I would say so, but I would say I'm a real human being when I'm by myself. I'm a real human being when I'm writing. I'm a real human being when I'm on a podcast like this. Like I feel very real. But other areas of my life, I find myself just going along with the status quo and just like, you know, just going along with some bullshit flow that I know is just bullshit flow, but I'm too much of a pussy to actually lead that flow in a new direction.
I see.
You feel me?
Yes, I do. That checks out. And that, you know, it's like some places we feel more comfortable to be free because we feel like, oh, no one's going to judge me on twitter.com. No one's going to judge me on my email list. No one's going to judge me on a podcast, or if they judge me, I don't care because I'll never see them, or their words can't affect me, or their way can't affect me because I'm happy to be free here with a friend, but I'm not happy to be free with my parents. I'm not happy to be free with, you know, any other, with old friends. Like I can imagine there are situations in which it's more difficult to be who you really are.
Dude, you nailed it. Like I was thinking about this the other day, actually, funny enough. I was like, how come I can be real on a podcast with Danny? How come I can be real when I'm like writing? How come I can be real with certain individuals? But when it comes to other individuals, I'm like, you wouldn't even recognize me. I wouldn't even recognize me. Right? Like, how is that happening? And what I realized was in a setting like this, instead of the filter being judgment, which leads to contraction in my being, the embrace of this moment, and it's a you know testament to like what you built with the podcast and just like who you are as a human being. The space is full of compassion.
Yeah.
So naturally, it invites realness to come out because you feel safe enough to actually be real. right? Like if you were like very judgmental, like, dude, I would just be in fucking personality mode and just hitting you with fucking what I realized all day, you know? And like
Yeah.
it's because of your ability to actually maintain and create a place of compassion. It allows me to be more real. Whereas in other places, I allow other people's judgment to prevent me from being real because I don't give to myself the compassion I need to be real.
Dude, that is something that I've been thinking about. How do you become a person where people want to give you feedback and people are willing to share the blind spots that you don't see because they know that you won't judge them for what you see as wrong?
Exactly.
Does that check out? Like, part of the thing is like, how can you be a person who can hold other people with love and compassion? How can you take anything anyone says and filter it through the lens of compassion or love, right? And that creates a space where you're just like, oh man, I could be who I really am, which is love. And it's like, I think another added benefit of that is that people are willing to be like, dude, you've been in, you've been doing this thing that I don't like, or you've been showing up in this way that is not appropriate. But that only comes because you have created a space within yourself to be loved to everyone you see in as much of a way as you can. So yeah, it's a very high compliment. So thank you so much, man.
Absolutely. And yeah, it's like very real, very genuine. And I think that's like, such a big takeaway, at least for me. It's like, for instance, like this is what I realized. It's like, because of a setting like this, it's like, oh, I have permission to be real because the space is full of compassion, right? So it's like natural, right? But in other instances or other environments, I feel more of the contraction. And like the real lesson that I feel like is inherent in this is like to give to yourself what you seek from others,
Yes.
right? Like if you give yourself the compassion, like really what's happening is it's not like I go into these other environments and like people are actually judging. It's like I'm judging myself. I'm depriving myself of compassion. And in return, I'm acting in an inferior way. I'm just going along with the status quo instead of actually showing up in a very real way, right? Showing up with my fullness and actually risking rejection or risking, making a fool out of myself or whatever it may be, right? But it's like I need to give to myself the compassion that I get from you in a conversation like this, for instance. And that in return will allow me to be real, not just on a podcast, not just with close friends, not just in writing, but in the totality of my life. And that's when I say I just want to live one day as a real human being.
I see. You just want to live one day with me right next to you, bro. I get it.
Exactly,
we can make it happen. We've already done it.
Just one day, bro. That's all I ask. Just one day.
But you know what's so fascinating as like a thought experiment is like
Sure.
how much, you know how like when you're with a group of friends, your behavior changes. And the question becomes, okay, imagine it was Danny and Tej walking around with you all day. Like, who would you be? And how would that impact your behavior? Right? And so,
dude, what a powerful question.
I know, it's good shit here. It's good shit here.
I love how you said that. Like you truly realized how good it was. You're like, dude, this is some good shit.
Yeah, we deliver here.
That's the tagline for the pod right there. We deliver here. I like that, dude. I like that. But go on. Sorry, my bad.
We got to do one of these a week, bro. We really do. Like, I think it would make such a tremendous impact on not only our lives but on people's lives. I mean, the amount of people who come up to me and they tell me, yeah, listen to the pod, but really the episodes with Tej, those are the ones I come back to that I re-listen to over. I mean, it's multiple times a month. Let's call it once a week. So I would say that this is something that I'm just going to put it on your calendar for every Wednesday. We're just going to record and then,
Dude. Uh-huh.
Yeah, then
I
we're
fucking love it.
it's great.
Dude, I love that idea because like even out of everything that I've done, the emails that I get the most related to are the pods with me and you, right?
Wow.
And also, dude, every time I do this, I feel like we're on the random show, like the modern day random show. I know I've said this in the past, but it's
Yeah.
so fucking cool. It's so fucking dope. And by the end of it, I feel more like myself. And I think that's what the listeners feel too. They feel more like themselves at the end of listening to this.
We deliver here.
That's the name, dude. That's the name. We deliver here for the weekly pods. Let's fucking go. That's the series.
I love it. So yeah,
But
imagine if
back to
yeah,
your original point, yeah.
yeah, imagine if you had two people who you enjoyed being with, who weren't judging you, who were treating every moment like it was a gift, who were grateful for life, who were willing to work hard, who were motivated and interested in you and interested in the world and wanted to sit with silence and sit with their own thoughts, but wanted to sit with anybody who just came upon them. Like, what would your life look like if you just imagined what having those two people in your life, like literally while you're on the elevator? It's like you in the elevator with another person. Okay, now imagine you in the elevator with the other person and me and Tej right behind you. Like, what would that do to how you would change the interaction? Right? You know, I'm making conversation with that person. You know,
Wow.
Tej is probably cracking a joke. So what are you going to do now with that other person in the real elevator? Right? You become a real human being by virtue of just that thought experiment.
Dude, that's such a remarkable question. One that reminds me of the conversation we had with the Uber driver when I was in Austin. The guy that was low key just in Canada. That was fucking hilarious. But based on what you just shared, remember that visualization related to like the ideal appearance? Like that's like the purpose of that meditation is to internalize like if you have these ideal parents, they're with you at all times. So like when you're on the elevator or you're like playing a game or running a business, it's like how would your actions change if you had these ideal parents with you at all times? And really it's a way for you to give to yourself what you lacked through this image of an ideal parent. You're ultimately giving it to yourself. It's the same thing in this case. And what's funny is like people know how they would change. Like even with just that question, like how would their behavior change if like, me and you were in the elevator with them and just like shooting the shit or whatever. They know exactly what they would do, but they're just waiting for permission. Like I'm waiting for permission, for instance, right? And it's like, how can you remove that permission? And I think in many ways you can use this thought experiment to actually go there. It's like we serve as the permission slips for people to go there. It's the same way the ideal parents from the ideal parent protocol, for those that are curious, allows you to access these deeper parts that usually you don't give yourself permission to because your personality disconnects you from these deeper parts. So you feel like, oh, that's not me, but really it is you.
Well, this is the thing. It's like that I noticed within myself is I'm only willing to give myself permission if I'm doing the things that I'm proud of. Right? If I'm in that shitty state, I don't want to give myself permission to talk to a stranger. I don't want them to see me like that. And so then that's when I record the videos. So, but to like try to push myself out of that space. Right? Like, what would you say to somebody who's fucking in that shitty state right now?
Tell them to fucking go into the woods and just fucking scream their ass off.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
But dude, I love what you said about the strangers thing. I think that's such a good reflection point. It's like, do I feel like talking to a stranger right now? That's such a good question to actually get such good awareness of where you're at. Because like you said, when you do feel in alignment on purpose, doing what you say you're going to do, just generally being there for yourself, you naturally feel that overflowing energy that makes you want to connect. It's not even something you do. It's just like a natural extension. And when you want to contract, when you want to hide, when you want to, make yourself invisible, the last thing you want to do is talk to a stranger.
And it's so cool to me that I'm always a month away from the contraction to the expansion.
Ooh. Juicy.
And listen, it might be different based on who you are, what type of upbringing you had. I don't know. Like I can't speak for every person, but I know for me, it's 1 month. I'm 1 month away from expanding. I know some fucked up shit could happen in my life, but I'm 1 month away from expanding.
Knowing that, do you feel like that fuels you with greater courage to take more risks?
Yeah,
That could
because
potentially take you to the quote unquote dark side,
yes,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, because you have less fear, right? You have less, you have no fear. I mean, I don't really have fear around uh, a lot of stuff related to career. Have feel I don't feel fear related to romantic. I don't feel a lot of fear just in general, like in the macro, if I were to think about it, you know, of like, oh, am I going to take this risk in business? Like it doesn't, I don't feel it. You know what I mean? And I don't know, like, I don't know how common that is. Because one question I get is like, how do you like gain the courage to like approach these like high level people? And I was like, dude, I was 15 years old talking to NBA players because I just put myself in that room, you know?
Mm.
So it's like not the so to take bigger risks, that doesn't necessarily resonate because I always feel like that. But it does remind me that there's nothing, that it's always salvageable. Whatever situation you get yourself into, it's always salvageable. And it's a good thing to remember.
That's beautiful. It's such a and I think everybody has like those things in their life that allows them to bounce back, right? And I think it's like very precious to actually be aware of what that is and then just live much more wholeheartedly, full throttle living because you know, like you said, I mean, whatever the time is for different people, you're just a month away.
Yeah. Yeah. It's powerful, man. It's powerful to know that. It's powerful to you watch day one versus you listen to this podcast, this day one of the video series. It's different people. And it's
Dude.
only a month apart.
Even just the thumbnails, bro. Like if you just go into your YouTube
Let me
and
check
then
them out.
you go into the videos and you just see the thumbnails. That's what I really respect about the video series is like it's fucking real.
Yeah.
Like you see your state each day in the thumbnail, right?
Wow. Wow.
And it's
Yeah.
fucking remarkable. Like that's the proof. That's the proof element with each thumbnail. This is quite literally what's being built here, right? At the end of these 100 days, whatever it is, you can have a collage going day by day of your thumbnails, and you see the transformation in real time.
So cool, man. So cool. Shout out to my friend Zach who did this originally and was the first seed of inspiration for this. And I really think there's something to having a daily challenge or a daily commitment. I looked up the domain name My Daily Commitment because I start seeing this everywhere. All of my friends and now my parents are committing to running a mile a day for the rest of the year. It's like,
Wow.
but I have a friend in Brett who's committed to running every day, at least a mile as well. And I have a friend Harry who's doing 1,000 step ups every day with weighted vest. Um, I have, my friend Talia doing 75 hard. It's like I see how the daily commitment is changing people, and I want to create like a online group of some sort just to bring all these people who are doing daily commitments together. And it's like mydailycommitment.com is available. Wow.
Bro, you
Okay.
better buy it right now before you
Okay.
release this pod.
Okay. I'll buy it right now. I'll buy it right now. We deliver here.
Buy it live on the pod. Let's go.
Yeah. I mean,
What do you? Yeah, I'm curious to dive in deeper there. Do you notice there's magic in having like one core daily commitment, and if you have like too many daily commitments, it kind of spreads yourself too thin? Or do you feel just whatever it is, committing to something, whether it's one thing or whether it's more than one thing on a daily basis, allows you to orient yourself more towards whatever mission that is?
yeah, well, the interesting thing is we're all committed to doing more than one thing every day,
Mhm.
right? Like you're committed to waking up, you're committed to probably brushing your teeth, you're committed to, using the restroom. You're committed to taking a shower, right? You're committed to opening up twitter.com. Like
I'm extra committed for that one.
me too. But we are all so committed to multiple things, and just some are so ingrained that you don't even think of them as commitments. And so I think when you're building and doing something that you haven't done before, it's helpful to chunk it in your head, right? When I was in the depths of my darkness, I wasn't saying, I'm going to meditate, I'm going to do 75 hard, I'm going to do a daily video series, I'm going to do daily affirmations. Like, sometimes that works, but I didn't do that. I said, okay, what's the lowest thing I can do right now? I can meditate. I can sit here with my eyes closed. Okay, I sat there with my eyes closed for 10 days in a row. Okay, now I can record and talk about some of the stuff that I'm experiencing. Okay, now I'm sitting here every day meditating, and I'm talking about what I'm experiencing. Okay, after 10 days of that, I was like, well, I got to get myself out of this place. So let me do 75 hard. After 75 hard, I'm doing it for 19 days. 18 days, I said, okay, let me do a daily affirmation, right? So these things build, day 19, I'm like, let me build a chair. So, these things build on each other. And day 20, I'll build a desk. I'll build a fucking desk out here. And so this is the thing about my daily commitment. I think when you feel the power of it and you feel the ball rolling, you inherently want to put more on your plate. But if I was doing 75 hard 5 days a week, if I was meditating 5 days a week, if I was doing if I was doing it 5 days a week, it wouldn't hit the same. I genuinely believe that. And it's the fact that I had one thing that was daily that built on itself so that I could have the next thing. And by the end of now 30 days or 50 days, I have 7, 8, 9 things I'm committed to every day. And it's exciting and it's full of joy. And I think it doesn't matter what it is, as long as it is adding positively to your life and it is full of light. I genuinely don't think it matters. Like, you are constantly, you're going to wake up, like, make those things that you do every day, things that are full of light and full of joy and moving you towards the things you want to do and are potentially difficult at first, that build you. So yeah, I think mydailycommitment.com, baby. We are going to, I wonder if by the time this airs, I could have a launch page out. Let's, let's get her going,
Dude, I think you said something really important that I want to touch upon, because it's like a mistake, quote unquote, that I made in the past. And it's like, when you were experiencing, let's say you were in the sunken place, right? Instead of overloading yourself with I'm going to do X, Y, Z starting tomorrow, you actually gave yourself space and you gave yourself compassion to meet yourself exactly where you were with one simple action to get the ball rolling. What I've done in the past is I'm in the sunken place and I'm like, all right, tomorrow I'm going to wake up at 5. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And I'll have a long list and I do it for a day or two. But by day 3, I don't do it. And now I feel even worse as a result. Right. So it's hey, I'm going to extend myself the compassion. I'm completely down and out right now. I'm just going to commit to one thing and I'm going to make it easy. And that's going to build momentum. So I think it's really crucial. The 10-day intervals in between is where all the magic actually happened, because it's very interesting. You didn't say on day 1, I'm starting 75 hard, right? That came much later as a result of the meditation, as a result of what was happening in the intervals, as a result of all that. It eventually led to that decision to actually do 75 hard and follow through. So that's a good takeaway for me too, because my tendency is dude, I'm gonna fucking flip this boat completely starting tomorrow, and then by day 3 the boat is fucking sunk again.
Well, here's the thing, and this is what I realized. If I were to read these affirmations that I printed out from Zig Ziglar, I'm gonna read them out here because I think they're important. But if I were to read these on day 1, I wouldn't have believed them. And if I didn't believe them, I would have stopped reading them. So
Mm-hmm.
I, Danny Miranda, am a person of integrity with a good attitude and specific goals. I have a high energy level, am enthusiastic, and take pride in my appearance and in what I do. I have a sense of humor, lots of faith, wisdom, and the vision, empathy, and courage to use my talents effectively. I have character, am knowledgeable. My convictions are strong, and I have a healthy self image, a passion for what is right, and a solid hope for the future. I'm an honest, sincere, and hardworking person. I am tough, but fair and sensitive. I'm disciplined, motivated, and focused. I'm a good listener and patient, but take decisive action. I'm bold and confident, yet humble. I'm an encourager, a good finder, and a forgiving person. I'm a student, a teacher, and a self-starter. I'm obedient, loyal, responsible, and dependable. I have a servant's heart. I'm ambitious, and I'm a team player. I'm intelligent, competent, persistent, and creative. I'm health conscious, balanced, and clean. I'm flexible, punctual, and thrifty. I'm an honorable person who is truly grateful for the opportunity life has given me. These are the qualities of the winner I was born to be, and I fully intend to develop these marvelous qualities with which I have been entrusted. Tonight, I'm going to sleep wonderfully well. I will dream powerful, positive dreams. I will awaken energized and refreshed, and tomorrow is going to be magnificent. These are the qualities of the winner I was born to be. Today is the first day of the rest of my life, and it is wonderful. Ooh, that's powerful. That's powerful stuff. And if I had read that in the beginning, I genuinely think I would have been like, fuck this. I don't believe this. I'm not this person. I don't like this. But I'm reading it today after 50 days of meditating in a row, after 19 days of 75 hard, after 30 days of putting out this video series. So of course I believe that shit. Of course I see how my life is living in that way. And reading it then makes me live it more. So powerful stuff out here. Powerful.
Talk that shit, Danny. Talk that shit. Dude, even as you were reading that, like the conviction in your voice, right? Like with every sentence that you uttered, like it was a full embodiment of what you were reading. It wasn't just mental.
That's right. That's right. I felt it. I felt it deep in my body. And I think that's important for affirmations. That's important for reading anything like that or voice note. Or are you feeling it? If you were an actor, are you actually in the play? Are you actually in the play of life? And when you're reading those and you're feeling them and you're like, this is true. This is true. This is in line with the person I see I am. That's exciting. And that fills you with more joy. And yeah, I have a couple of them printed out right now, and I'm just putting them throughout my apartment so that whenever I'm on a call, I see this. Whenever I'm just hanging around, whenever I open the door, it's like, what are you putting in your bathroom? You go to the bathroom how many times a day? What are you putting near your shower? What are you putting near your bedroom? Right? These are just spaces waiting to be taken by something in your consciousness. So let's use them effectively, right?
Wow. There's a couple of things that stand out. One is like the big idea that you mentioned related to like if you were an actor. Yeah. I think that is such a crucial thing to like zoom in on. But two, I think the feeling part is very impactful when it comes to affirmations, and even when it comes to like visualizations, like the difference between when you actually feel it and you become an embodiment of it, because really what you're doing is you're feeding yourself an affirmation or a visual, and what you want it to do is you want it to get digested by the body to the point that you become it, right? So it's like entering you. You're kind of eating an affirmation and it needs to be digested fully. Yes. Right? It can't just be like you just like take a little bit and then you like puke it out and like it didn't get digested, so you don't become it. Like for instance, when you did the I love myself, right, practice, you truly digested it and you became love. That's the end result. You became love because you digested that. It was a full embodiment, right? You truly ate that affirmation. You truly ate that visualization. And I think the same thing happens with various intentions, right? The only real distance between you and your intention is the degree in which you have embodied the intention. Once you become the intention, it's fucking game over. I don't care what it is. It's fucking game over, right? And like that's where it's really crucial to like be aware, okay, I'm feeding myself this intention, this affirmation. What resistance do I have that comes up to this? Because that's the barrier between you actually realizing that in your life.
It's so true. And I'm reading this book right now where he talks about that, how he, the book is Running Down a Dream, I believe. Let me make sure I got that right. Running Down
Fire
a
title.
Dream. Yeah, I know, right? Running Down a Dream, Your Roadmap to Winning Creative Battles by Tim Grahl. And he said he started to read these affirmations, and what would come up was all of the reasons why not. Why all of the reasons why he wasn't a good listener, or all the reasons why he wasn't disciplined, or he wasn't tough, or he wasn't flexible. And all of that would come up, and then he would write it down. And so I think that's a useful way to do the affirmation, if you're willing to go there, is to read all this and see, like, does this feel true? And if it doesn't feel true because you're not acting in that way, write it down and make it obvious so that you can then potentially change that behavior. I think that's such a useful practice. So yeah,
100%.
the embodiment, bro, is so big, so big.
Because I think that's like the difference that I always sense in you is like you do a very good job of bypassing the mental, even when you're using mental techniques.
What do you mean by that?
Like even an affirmation, for instance, right? Like majority of the people, including myself, just keep it at the level of the mental. But you truly become an embodiment of it. Like you eat the affirmation to the point that you become the affirmation.
Such a good line. Or eat the affirmation.
Don't read the affirmation, eat the affirmation.
You know, Tej, last night I skipped breakfast. Last night I skipped dinner. I was eating affirmations instead. Sorry.
There's something to this. Like we actually grow and evolve by eating experience. Right? Like experience is the true nutrition to our being.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if we meet experience with openness and presence, then you actually eat the experience and it leads to nutrition for your consciousness.
Right. For your soul. Your soul expands to the level that you have new experiences. And so if you think about somebody's soul who has been doing the same thing over and over again, is it as nourished as the person who has a million different experiences? Like it would be impossible for it to, because they're in that same experience over and over again. Although that same experience might be nourishing in some way, but it's hard for that to compare to the plethora of experience.
100%. And I think it's so empowering because if you approach it through that frame, you realize the experience you're having right now is exactly the experience you're supposed to be having, and it's arising in front of you to be eaten and digested, right? Usually we want to change our experience. We're like, I don't like this fucking experience. Give me another experience. But quite frankly, you usually have to digest the experience before you have to eat the food on your plate before you can get dessert. Right. So whatever experience you're having right now is the food on your plate. And we can spend all our energy resisting it, being like, fuck, man, why do we have fucking broccoli? Where's the steak at? Right. But like, just fucking eat the broccoli. And like, naturally, it like lead to something else.
Yeah. Yeah. That's such a good frame for the experiences that we don't want to have. The experiences that we are resisting. It's like, all right, well, this is just what I'm supposed to eat in this moment. And I will eat another thing at a different time because this experience will pass at some point. So let's eat this experience for now.
Exactly. And I think like the experiences that arise, there's like a deep intelligence in them. Like they're not random at all. Right. So it's like imagine an all-knowing presence that loves you more than life itself, and that's where your experiences come from.
Yeah.
And like from that vantage point, you truly start to view how sacred your life really is, whether you're at the top of the world or the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then instead of trying to go somewhere else, you open your eyes to what's actually happening in real time around you, and you're like, holy fuck, this is my life. Like just feel into this is my life. And it's so precious, right? Yeah. All the wins, all the lows, all the heartbreaks, all the jewels, all the treasures. This is my fucking life. What a fucking life. This is fucking incredible. And it's like every experience is so precious through that frame. Right. When I forget this, I'm like, fuck this shit. But like, through this frame, every experience is very precious.
Yeah, that is just such a helpful pair of glasses to put on through all the moments. It's like, how can I eat this experience right now? How can I best digest this moment? When you think like that, it's different than, oh, fuck this shit. and even for the wins too, like being on top of the world. How can I best digest this moment has a different energy than we won or we did it.
Right. Dude, you nailed it. Like, I think the hardest experiences to digest are the ones when you're actually winning, because usually your mind becomes overreactive and it wants to maintain winning to the point that you don't even digest it in the first place because you're so concerned of actually keeping it. So like winning triggers anxiety in a way.
Absolutely. And this is like, you have a script for winning as you do for losing. Meaning just look at the instant reaction to somebody, to a sports fan while they're watching a team win or lose, right? The instant script is head down when the team loses. The instant script is arms up. And you're programmed with this. Like, you don't have a choice in this. And then, okay, so but why? Why does watching a sports team lose have to mean that your head goes down? Right? And why does watching a sports team win mean your hands have to go up? Is that the best way to digest the experience? Maybe that is your reaction, that's your response. And then after that, maybe what is the best way to digest that experience?
Very fascinating.
Very fascinating, right?
Very fascinating.
Because I can imagine somebody be like, oh, let's party tonight because our team won, which is one fair reaction or response to your team winning. Or it could be like, yo, let's go back to my place and let's talk about our favorite moments from the season.
Wow.
Wow. It could be like, let's figure out a way to party with the players tonight, right? Like, if you think about digesting the experience and trying to fully bring it into your being, the options are different than let's just go to the bar.
Dude, that's so good. That's so rich. You know what just came to mind right now, which is kind of like a mind fuck, was like, I realized I've like celebrated and digested a sports team winning more than my own wins.
That's
like how the Toronto Raptors fucking won the chip and Kawhi Leonard was like the talk of the town. Like, I fucking basked in that, bro. But when it came to my wins, I'm like, let me get to the next one.
Wow. Well, I think a lot of people will be able to relate to that. And that speaks to what is socially acceptable, or what the people who are around you and what they're doing and what's normal.
Right. Dude, that was a mindfuck realization. And I think it's like, oh, the season is over now and you can actually digest this win compared to, oh, like tomorrow is a new day. I got to like get back on the fucking horse.
Yeah, there's also a finality to sports in a way that there isn't necessarily in business. Because I assume most of the wins or in fitness, right? Like, I don't know what type of win you're referring to, but it's like, okay, you won a big client. Now, okay, what are you going to do with that?
Right.
Right. There's no like, all right, the season ended. Like, no, the season just began. The client is expecting things tomorrow.
Just send him an email. Be like, the season ended. Thanks, bro.
But
once you get the invoice, the season ends. Oh man, can you imagine?
Scammer Central. Page 0.0 in here.
Oh man, dude, that's so funny.
You know what would go off is a sports league like a sports league that was similar to business.
Say
I feel
more.
like, well, business has become this thing that's so commercialized, or there's star power behind business in a way that some business people are bigger than athletes. Gary Vaynerchuk, Alex Hormozy, these people are similar to how people treated athletes back in the day. But the league that they compete in is dollars and cents, sure, but no one could actually see that. And what would it look like if there was like 9 months, build a business, and at 9 months, we are going to crown a champion? And all these people, Hormozy's building his team of 5 people, and that's his roster, and you could follow that every. Bro, that's $1 billion idea right there.
Dude, I love that. I love that. That's like giving me vibes to like, NBA 2K where you build your own team and shit.
Yes. But this is all brand new, right? Like business people as icons. I mean, you could argue Trump in like with Celebrity Apprentice. A Celebrity Apprentice or Apprentice was this in some way.
Right. Woo, dude, this is juicy.
Yeah, but there's a way, I think, to make it teams and to make the value appreciate of the actual teams. I don't know. There's an idea here for sure.
Definitely. I think like that finality thing adds so much to, because it's like in a way it's also the importance of like 75 hard. On day 75, it's a finality. Like you completed this for 75 days.
Yeah.
Right. And I think there is something baked into how, whether it's like with business or whether it's like with fitness or whether it's like with something else, there's like no finality. Life goes on. And I think we miss something in the process because there's no finality.
Okay. So with mydailycommitment.com, how should I add finality to the process?
What a juicy question. The juicy questions on the Daniel Miranda podcast and the deep questions. Good question.
Yeah.
Let's see what
what arises for you?
I mean, one thing that arises that jumps out to me immediately is like the example of your parents, like when they committed to like 1 mile for the rest of the year. Right. So that has like some sort of finality baked into it where it's like, okay, this is my daily commitment for 2024.
Yes. So on the website or in the group, you should have at least the option to say how long you're doing this commitment for.
Right. Did I say right?
Yeah, I heard right. I think that's right.
Because, yeah. What do you think? I mean, in your case, what do you think that would add to the experience?
Something to look forward to, I guess. I think it makes it more manageable. So, especially if it's something you don't want to do. Like meditation, something I want to do forever, and I have joy around doing forever, in the darkness and in the light and in between. And so there's no sense of difficulty or struggle. But recording a video every day, I was like, I don't want to do this shit forever.
Right.
Right. But after 100 days, I might say I want to do this for 101st day.
Exactly.
But it gives you the option to back out at some point. That's what it does. Which is fine. Because it's not like you have to do everything you commit to forever. You went to school at some point, right? You committed to completing a grade. And having the option to back out is an important piece to starting. Oh, it's not forever. Okay. I can do this for 75 days.
I think you nailed it. I think to respect the season. It allows you to establish the season and to respect the season and to honor the season.
Yeah. And
dude,
yeah,
go on.
Go. No, you go.
No.
That was a good dude. That was a good dude.
No, I was going to shift gears a little bit, I had a funny story. So I've meditated. I just got reminded as you were saying you want to meditate for the rest of your life, right? So I've been meditating like very consistently since 2011, 2012, whatever. And these past 2 weeks, I didn't meditate at all. And bro, the funniest shit happened. I quite literally fell down the stairs. And I'm fucking confident that if I had meditated, I would not have fucking fallen down the stairs. In my entire life, I've never fallen down the stairs. In the 2 fucking weeks I don't meditate, I fucking go stumbling down the stairs. What the fuck? Okay, life. Okay, life. I see you.
And also, your Wi-Fi was out last week.
My Wi-Fi was out. It was fucking acting up. I fell down the stairs, like fucking injured my back, dude. It was like a bad 2 weeks, bro. I'm like, okay, I'm getting back on this meditation train.
What got you to stop, or what made you think about stopping?
Yeah, honestly, what I was doing, I just fell into the habit of waking up and going straight to work.
Yeah.
So I would literally
loves that shit.
Yeah. I'm like, let me try it, because I'm like one to experiment, right? I'm like, yo, a lot of people just like wake up and go straight to work. I haven't tried it in a minute. Let me see if there's actually something to my positive habits. Because to me, the measure of a positive habit is if you stop doing it, you should experience some sort of negative consequence. And if you don't, and if you and if you don't, then let go of that positive habit. It's just taking up fucking bandwidth, right? Like, get that out of your routine. Because I think a lot of people add a lot of positive habits, but like, you really know if it's actually doing something once you remove it. So yeah, I fucking stopped meditating and I fucking fell down the stairs. That's a good habit that I probably need to apply to the rest of my life. Right? But that's what I was doing. I would just wake up at like 6 or whatever and go straight into work. Straight. Just dome coffee and straight into work.
Yeah, I've done that too, many a time. And definitely meditation is effective. And I haven't even meditated today yet. But yes, I agree. Well, because it's just whenever, I just know I will do it at some point. But that is so good to hear that you stopped and that you are now inclined to continue. I love to hear that.
Yeah. Got to keep myself accountable. Got to keep myself honest.
What was interesting is I was talking to a coaching client about how he was doing all of the activities. He wants to focus in this season of his life on building friendships and building connections. And he was doing all of this stuff, meditating, working out, and it's like, how come I don't have friends, or I don't have friends that align with me? And so I asked him, what type of friend do you want? Like, describe the friend that you want. And he said, someone who's spontaneous, someone who can make me laugh, and someone who's adventurous, spontaneous, adventurous, same sort of thing. And so I basically said, when was the last time you were spontaneous? When was the last time you were making someone laugh or making yourself laugh? Right? And so the habits for him weren't meditate, work out, do a cold plunge. It was, dude, go to a comedy class or look up comedy on YouTube or do something random out of nowhere. Like, go to a national park right now, right? Because that is going to create different people around you. So when you said you stopped meditating, it's like the people I want around me they meditate, like my friends, right? Or have some inquiry practice of some sort. That's me. But that doesn't mean that needs to be you or anybody, right? And so I find it interesting is like sometimes we're doing behaviors because everyone said that's the behavior to do without questioning what we're trying to get in this season and if those behaviors match up to this season of life, which you were questioning, which is awesome.
Dude, that's so good. What a rich example, dude. I really fuck with that. It's so interesting because, like, in many ways, right, what you're seeking is like that self-friendship with yourself. What you're really wishing for is for yourself to be more spontaneous and to be more adventurous, but you then want to experience it through another individual, right? Nothing wrong with that. Of course, like, you get like-minded friends, like whatever. I'm just using that as an example. But it's like, it's interesting because if one allows themselves to become more spontaneous and more adventurous and everything that they wanted in another person, not only will they end up attracting people like that, but when they attract people like that, they'll be at the point where they don't even need people like that because they're giving to themselves what they seek all along.
Correct. Because people will be like, oh my God, this person is having the most spontaneous, funny time by himself, and I want to be his friend. And the guy is like, I don't even need a friend like that. Like, exactly. Or I have too many friends like that.
Exactly. And that's so beautiful. That's when I think friendship really becomes beautiful because now it amplifies what you already have going on.
Right. It's not coming from lack. It's coming from, wow, there's pure abundance everywhere. And I don't need to cling on to this friend or that friend because I already have the friend I need inside. And also, I actually have an abundance of friends in my real day-to-day life of
Exactly.
people that I want to be like, which is an amazing blessing, truly.
Exactly. I think that's such a good insight. It's like, I ask myself all this a lot of the time. It's like, what am I seeking? And like, that's usually a reflection of what I'm not giving to myself, which in return is why I'm seeking it from the external world.
Oof.
Right. So if I'm like, man, I'm getting really like fucking bored. Like, I wish somebody would come along into my life and like fucking be like, hey, you want to go to like Japan in August? Right. I'm like, oh, that's what I'm seeking. So why don't I just go to Japan in August? So I'm going to Japan in August.
Are you actually?
Yeah, I'm going to Japan in August.
I'll go to Japan in August with you.
Dude, let's go. First week of August. August 1st to August 12th. Let's run it.
I would not be opposed to that. I have to wonder if they have any gyms for 75 hard out there.
Oh, the Japan edition. The Japan edition.
Doing daily videos in Japan with Tej Dosa, recording, ripping podcasts, delivering podcasts.
Ooh.
I can envision that.
Dude, legendary. I can envision that. Shout out to Ryan. I got that from Ryan. From the
Ryan?
Yeah. He's like, whenever somebody says like, can you imagine that? He's like, I can't imagine that, to make it more real. And he got that from you. Oh shit, he got that from you from a podcast. Full circle. There we go.
How's Ryan doing?
Ryan's amazing. He's like, I'm actually supposed to. So I'm going to Sedona next week, with Ryan. Dude, have you been to Sedona? I'm hearing so much magical things about Sedona. I'll get back to Ryan in a minute. Sorry, Ryan, but Sedona.
I want to hear how Ryan. I also want to hear how you're doing. I asked what's going on in Tej Dosa's world, and that went absolutely nowhere. But we'll get back to Ryan. We'll get back to you. And Sedona is magical, man. I visited there in 2021, and I saw Miss Excel out there, which you should link up with if she's out there.
Nice. Mm-hmm.
And my friend Nikki, who has been a coach for me for the past 8 weeks, I believe. Incredible woman. Both of those women I went to college with, both ended up in Sedona separately. And yeah, just an awesome place, great energy. It reminds me a lot of Austin.
Wait, you said you went to college with Miss Excel?
Yes.
Oh wow, dude, I didn't know that.
She was a couple years older than me, and
wow.
that's how I discovered her, bro.
Dude.
That's how I was on the inside.
Wow, I had no idea. Yeah, the reason I was like, one of the reasons why I was like inspired to go to Sedona is from that podcast.
Wow.
With her, when she was talking about the impact that Sedona had. And also going back to Ryan, funny how everything comes back together without trying. Ryan is the one, because like when we were in Austin, he was talking about Sedona, and he came into the Austin Treehouse Airbnb, and he's like telling me about a Sedona experience, and he's like, bro, Sedona fucking changed my life. You can imagine Ryan saying it, yes, right? Like very like fucking hardcore fucking force. He's like, dude, Sedona fucking changed my life. So I was like, dude, we gotta go to Sedona. So it's like we have like an online retreat, but we're just gonna do it in Sedona. So it's me, Ryan, and then Erica. She's also part of the group as well. Ryan's girlfriend.
Epic. Yeah, that'll be, I'm sure, an amazing trip. And is that in July, August?
That's next week. Next week. I think this time next week I'll be in Sedona, or this time tomorrow. Yeah.
Oh, nice. This time tomorrow. Wow, you're out there. You're celebrating 4th of July like an American. We love to see that.
Dude, I feel more and more American with every passing day, I must say. Dude, every time I cross the border, even if I'm just going to like Washington or whatever, I'm like, finally, I can take a sigh of relief, man. I just fucking fuck with Americans so much.
Wow, why do you think
you just feel the shift? You just feel the shift, like, And I've like there's a difference in the actual energy. This is the way Ryan explained it. It's like because we were trying to like figure this out, right? We went to Austin, then we went to Florida, we went to St. Pete, we went to Miami, and we were like, what Americans, this is Ryan insight, I'm gonna take credit for it as if it's mine. But he was like, in Canada, everybody is in the middle of the bell curve, and everything they teach you is designed to keep you in the middle of the bell curve. But in the States, you have more of the tail ends of the bell curve. So you have people that are like, kind of like gone off the rails, and you have other people that are like fucking very unique in their own way that are like in the opposite direction, and adds a very richness to the energy that you feel when you go to certain places in the States. And that's what I really resonate with. When I'm in Canada, for instance, I just feel cookie cutter stuff, right? Like I go on a walk in Canada and I feel like nothing's going to happen, right? For good or bad. It's just going to be whatever. I'm going to be safe. It's all good. Like, nothing crazy out of the ordinary is going to happen. If I go in the States, I'm like, dude, shit can pop off any minute. And I like that. I like a little bit of spontaneousness in the air, for good or bad. Like you may meet some random person like I did in Austin that looks like Jesus and he's your Uber driver. And I'm like, dude, I would never meet this guy in Vancouver, right? So it's like you meet really cool people and you meet sometimes different people that are, not as cool, but I like that energy where like anything can fucking happen in the States. And like, that's what I really fuck with.
That's a great explanation. The variance of people and types of experiences you can have are increased here. And you probably are immune to it if you're an American listening to this, or you're an American. It's like, and I'm sure there are some places in the United States that are similar to Canada, I would imagine, or how you describe Canada, but I agree. I've gotten used to the variance of the United States, and I enjoy it tremendously. And it's so enriching, and it allows you to digest more experiences. That's really what it does.
Full circle.
Yes.
Full circle. And I noticed that too, like whenever, like whether it's like you or whether it's like other American friends, right? Like when you like kick it with them, you truly sense like there's like more of a fullness to them. And I think that relates to having consumed a broader range of experiences.
Yeah, I'm curious how you think the internet plays a role in that, like people growing up with the internet.
I think it's massive because that's partly why I was like, dude, I feel more and more American because like pretty much majority of clients, customers are from the States, business partners from the States. The various groups that I'm in are from the States. My friends essentially from the online space that are very like-minded are from the States, right? So I'm like just on a daily basis, I'm mostly just interacting with Americans all day.
That checks out. And that makes sense. And yeah, that explains why you're in such a good mood all the time.
And I think going back, I think Americans are actually like, I'm just generalizing, but I think they're actually very real. They actually stay with what's happening for them. They don't cover it up, right? They're not cookie cutter, right? Going back to loop back around to what we were saying, like I noticed that. Like they're willing to actually express the truth of where they're at. Whether you fucking like it or whether you don't fucking like it, they're going to express it. And I really fuck with that.
That's interesting. Why do you think that is?
Like the Uber driver, for instance, in Austin, who's like talking shit about Canada. Dude, no Canadian Uber driver would talk that shit about the States. Like he was throwing out jokes and stuff. And I'm like, dude, this is real.
Yeah. People are more willing to honor the realness of their experience. And they're given more support in the realness of their experience, even if it's dissenting. And I think keeping that is very important. Keeping that ethos, that way of being, that willing to challenge the loud voice that could sometimes be obnoxious, the dissenting opinion, the person arguing. That's an important aspect to all of everything, because otherwise it just gets too cookie cutter. That's an interesting thing about a positive of the dissenting nature. People always complaining about American politics and like I don't pay attention to that shit, but no one ever stops and says, wow, these people are really willing to talk their mind and go after the other side and really stand true for what they believe. God bless, man. Like that's a rare thing and should be celebrated. The dissent should be celebrated on both sides.
Dude, that's incredible. That's an incredible insight. And it really ties everything back together with respect to, going back to all the negative emotions that are inside each and every individual and to celebrate those as well. It's all connected.
True. It's only because people can have the space to feel how they feel, can they actually said the truth of what they're feeling, which creates an argument, which leads to flourishing democracy, which leads to more people feeling heard, which leads to some anger and some fighting. But I mean, it's better that than people shoving their opinions or perspectives down and for no one to know them and for them to feel ashamed of their opinions. Fuck that.
Exactly. Dude, it's so wild. Like, it's so funny. One, I feel so fucking liberated on this conversation. Just as a side note.
Let's go.
Dude, I'm just sensing into it. I'm like, holy fuck, I feel so fucking good right now.
Let's go.
I'm like, there's because I felt like there was all this energy that I was just keeping inside, and like this podcast just fucking unleashing it, and I just feel so fucking alive right now. It feels fucking remarkable. But
once a week, baby. Get used to it.
dude, I'm fucking game. I think it's gonna be incredibly transforming for me personally. Just alone to just like fucking let it rip. Oh shit, back to the retreat. Let it rip once a week. Let's go,
baby.
Let it rip. But what I was going to speak about is like, I think it's so rich. Like, for instance, like when we just like hit record and we don't know what we're going to talk about. Like, dude, before this pod, I had no idea we were going to talk about prisoners. We were going to talk about the U.S. It's so fucking cool.
And I think the truth is that what people genuinely appreciate from us is the realness with which we speak about and how we speak about our lives. And because that's what I get over and over again with these videos, with these podcasts. It's just real, man. It's two friends talking, learning, listening, asking questions, caring about each other, real. And that is not something that everyone has. It's what I've become aware of more recently. It's not as available as I wish it was. And so the realness of this is what makes it feel so good for both of us. And so I think often we feel so shitty because we're not being real about what we're feeling.
Fuck.
Or we feel so anxious, or we feel so contracted because we're not being real, because it's too painful to be real about what the fuck is going on. And I get it. And I've been there.
Which is really what makes you feel alone and makes you then wallow in that instead of actually expressing it to somebody else, right? Just going there and like sharing the realness, and instantly there's something else that gets created.
Yes, because it gets transformed when you're willing to say, I acted like a piece of shit, or I acted in a way that I wasn't happy with, or I feel full of grief, I feel loss, I feel angry. Well, something changes, right? If you really sit with feeling angry and then sit with how it feels to express that you are feeling angry, there's a different energy after.
100%. Like, imagine two people at a party and like they're both like super anxious, and one person just keeps the anxiety inside, and another person goes up to the first person they see and they're like, dude, I'm so fucking anxious right now.
Yeah.
It's gonna change everything.
Yeah.
It's gonna fucking change everything.
Yeah. And that's why it's such a skill in the moment to know what you're feeling. And that's what meditation has helped me do more than anything. Because if you can understand how you're feeling in the moment, you can express how you're feeling in the moment, which makes you more quote unquote real and makes you connect more with other people.
Would you say you were always in touch with like what you were feeling, or was that like more, you started to experience that more as a result of meditation?
I believe I started to experience that more. I was more comfortable saying it. I was more in touch for sure, but I also was more comfortable with the moments, the moments when you're fucking angry, or the moments when you're anxious, but you don't want to say it. Those moments?
Yes, I do.
Those moments became less and less because I was more comfortable saying the truth of how I was feeling, because I didn't have any shame around it, because I knew that was just an emotional state and that didn't define me. Whereas before meditation, I would let that emotional state define me. So that's been my experience.
It's so good, and it's like so the alignment with respect to what you're feeling and expressing what you're feeling, it creates a level of authenticity that I think is like very attractive and very real because it creates more of the realness. It always reminds me, ever since Elle shared this story, like I always think about it. It's so good. She was like talking about you, and she's like, I don't know what it was. It was like after one of the run clubs or something like that. Somebody that was like running with you, they came up to you, like a group of people. They're like, Danny, we're going to go grab food. You want to come? And Danny looks at him and he's like, nope. And like that level of realness, right? Like, hey, like, of course, like maybe on another day, and it's nothing to do with them. It's just you authentically expressing no in a very clear
Yes.
way, right? Being in alignment with what you actually want. Like maybe you had a podcast to record after, or maybe you didn't. Maybe you just didn't want to go get food. And you
I
just
didn't.
said
I
no.
just wanted to get food. I just didn't want to get food. Like that was
Right.
not. I knew. I
Exactly.
checked in real quick, and
Exactly.
and that is a power that I wish everyone had access to know what their no meant. I mean, when was the last time somebody just told you no or you said no, right?
Yeah.
Because there's such a fear around this. Like, say there's such a fear around rejecting somebody else. It's like that has nothing to do with you. And we take ownership of other people's rejections. And the bigger
Yeah.
the stakes, the harder it is.
Bro, I remember one time, like when I was in like university, I did 30 Days of Discipline by Victor Pride, right? And
I
one of the
remember that
things,
program.
yeah, and like one of the things was like whenever you're asked a question for like 30 days, you have to respond with yes or no, and you can't give any explanation, right? And it was so difficult for me because my tendency was like, oh, this person's going to think like I don't want to hang out with them. So let me be like, oh, the reason I can't chill with you is because of XYZ, right? I really want to chill with you, but I just can't because of XYZ, right? When really I wanted to say no. But it was so difficult to just say no. And like through those 30 days, it was like training that muscle. And because I think in a nutshell, what it comes down to is people think, or I thought, if you say no, it's going to lead to a loss of love. And everything you do is done to maintain love. But what you don't realize is by enforcing certain boundaries, it allows you to experience more love.
That's right. That's powerful. That is such a powerful statement. People should go back and rewind and re-listen to that. That is so true. And now I'm going to ask you, how do I say no effectively to, now I've got, hundreds of people who want to talk to me, to which I made myself available to. And
Right.
I would like to not ghost these people. How do I effectively, I got myself into this situation, Tesh. Now, how do I get myself out of it? No, I mean, like I'm down to do calls with people and I'm down to, but I can't, I don't foresee me doing calls with 175
Yeah.
people over the next week. I just don't. I don't think that would be respectful to everyone's time, and I could extend the time to the next month. But even so, I don't foresee myself doing 175 calls in the next month with people.
Yeah.
I love all you people who are listening. God
What's
bless you.
your process for what calls are you going to take? I'm
I don't
curious.
know. I don't
Is it-
know. I got myself into a jam. I just said me a DM. I got going crazy. Got
I can
200
imagine, bro.
people.
Dude, your podcast has touched so many people that once they saw that tweet, they were probably like, whoa, like, even just you putting that out there is very impactful. And I think even just people responding to that in the DMs, for instance, is actually giving them something. Regardless of if you can take all calls or if you can't, I think it's just a gesture of the connection that's actually built between you and the people that have been DMing you.
I agree, and I appreciate you saying that. I'm really humbled by all of the messages and all of the people who want to connect. It really does mean a lot, and really does allow me to see the impact. But now, how do I say no most effectively to some people, or what is the process that I should even be doing for this?
Yeah. I think in this case, like people do understand, like obviously, you have a pretty large following on Twitter, and a tweet like that is going to lead to a lot of responses, which in return is going to create the constraint of time. So you obviously can't attend to every call. But I think what people just want to experience is like, even if it's a no, they want to experience the no with love.
That's right.
The no is not a rejection of them. The no is really just based on a constraint related to time, or even just like your own desire of how many calls you want to take.
Right. Right. So I got to figure out how many I'm going to take. Yeah. What do
You
you
say
got?
no with the heart emoji. That's it. That's how you, a no with love. That's what's needed.
That checks out. But I don't know if I could actually say no with the heart emoji.
Yeah. No, I feel you. I couldn't either. In this case, I couldn't either.
Because I gave the request.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Here, I think it's warranted to have like, just the realness expressed related to just like what you expressed on this pod, for instance, right? And I think people resonate and respect that.
Yeah. I'm going to do a bunch though. And if I don't pick you, I'm going to be doing this again at some point in the future. Maybe I'll create a list of people of like, okay, that's good. Where there was, maybe 200 people that reached out. So I'll do 50 in the next month. And then when I feel excited to do them again, I'll do 50 another month.
Dude, I like that. Just get everybody's number, put it into like a Google Doc, and whenever you feel compelled to talk to a stranger and you're chilling at home in your apartment, dial somebody up and be like, "What's up, bro? What's cooking?"
Wow, that's kind of genius. Yeah, I was gonna do a Calendly link and all this shit, but I like that idea too. Wow.
That reminds me of like the OG Gary Vee days, right? When he would just like get the phone number and just call people up. I think there's something so spontaneous and loving with that gesture.
I love that. I'm gonna tweet right now. If you reached out, send your phone number. That's epic.
Dude, can you imagine? And I think there's such beauty in, I think there's like some divine timing that will actually happen when you do call people. They're going to be in a certain situation that they wouldn't have been in if it was a scheduled event. And I think there's some magic in that.
That's so true, because they would be thinking about how to best prepare or whatever. And the real best preparation is for them to be themselves, which is most likely to happen if it's spontaneous.
Exactly.
Wow.
Dude,
and this way I can filter too, because not everyone who sent me a message initially is going to send me their phone number.
Exactly. Dude, let's fucking go.
If you reached out, send me your phone number. I will be contacting at least 20 people in the next month. And
you got the rest of your life to contact the other 180.
Correct.
Can you imagine 80 years old and Danny, you get a call from Danny? He's like, you thought I forgot?
Dude, this fills me with so much joy that I could just ring up anyone anytime. Oh my God. This fills me with so much joy. So much better than a Calendly. Oh my God.
Yeah. Even just sensing into the energy, like imagine, I'm just like feeling so high just off that idea. Like just imagine you're just living your life, going through your daily routine, and you're like, just doing what you do. And then out of nowhere, you get a call and it's like, this is a weird number. Should I pick up? Should I not pick up? And you pick up and you hear Danny's voice. Holy fuck, this is fucking legendary.
All right, dude, we're going to continue this, but I have to take a piss. Brief intermission.
Sounds good.
All right, we're back.
Let's go. Dude, I feel so good. Dude, I like feel higher than meditation, bro. This is fucking remarkable. Because it's like it quite literally feels like more of a embodied meditation where like I'm not just in stillness, I'm actually expressing, and it's dynamic and there's aliveness and there's curiosity and play, and it's like the full richness of the human experience coming to life. And dude, I'm just basking in it. This is fucking incredible.
I feel the exact same way. Higher than meditation. We delivered here.
Fuck yes.
That's what's so fascinating about doing group meditations every week with the run club. It's like you do the 4-mile run, you do the group meditation, and I drop in so much faster than the solo meditations. And there's so many possible reasons for this. I mean, one is that you just ran 4 miles, but every time I meditated in a group, it's different. It's a different experience than a solo meditation. Have you also experienced that to be the case?
Dude, I experienced it at your retreat.
Yeah.
That was the at your retreat was the first time that I did a group meditation with like even more than 5 people. Like I've done it over Zoom, but that's different. Like it was the first
Wow.
time in person was your retreat. And like when you facilitated that, I was like, because there is a richness of the field that you can tap into, right? Because if somebody else is embodying like stillness, that sends ripples throughout the entirety of the field, which then allows your consciousness to plug into it, allowing you to relax into the stillness with greater ease than when it's just you.
Mm.
Right. So when you have, especially, I think there's some magic to it after a run because you quite literally exhaust a lot of character conditioning in the process, and the character is tired and exhausted, which allows for more stillness to arise with greater ease. Now imagine you do that with a group of people all together. It's going to be very rich.
Yeah, that's beautifully said. That makes a lot of sense. What also is interesting is what pops up in the run for a lot of people is that we do it in a public place in Austin
Uh-huh.
where people are walking by. So some people in the group don't feel safe. Not that
Mm,
anything unsafe is happening outside, but they don't want to feel judged. And so it
right.
brings up all of the potential judgments of everyone else, of the world, for 20
Bro.
or 30 guys to be meditating in a circle together, which I
Bro,
find interesting.
that's such good practice because if you can meditate in Austin when you're surrounded by people, to the degree you can do that is to the degree that you can show up as your true self in actual reality.
That's facts. That's so true. That's
Damn.
so true.
That's so good that you do it in public now that I think of it. That's remarkable.
Yeah. I mean, I don't feel anything. And people tell me I don't want to do this because I feel judged. And I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Wow.
This is amazing. And then people are willing to say that they feel nervous about being judged. And it creates so much, uh, like people are willing to talk about their own experiences. And it's wild how if you feel like you get judged on a meditation or while meditating, you're literally doing nothing and you're worried about judgment coming in. It's like, wow,
Wow.
what about when you're doing something?
Ooh. Dude, that actually adds a whole nother layer to the meditation because to meditate, with that group in public is quite literally practicing being yourself in public.
That's true. That's yeah. That's right. Because when you're in public by yourself, you're you're actually feeling what you're experiencing.
Right. Right.
And you're forced to watch your real thoughts or be
Mm.
with your real thoughts.
Wow.
Powerful.
I experienced that myself too. Like for instance, when I do like the weekly inquiry, I do it like inside, right? Like on Zoom or whatever, like on my couch. And then like one time there was like they were like testing the fire alarm or whatever, so I had to like leave my place. And then I went outside and I just like sat underneath a tree and like, dude, I couldn't like inquire in the same way. I was like tripping out a little bit. This is like a couple of years ago, but then recently I did it in Austin and it was radically different.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the environment changed your inquiry practice.
Yeah, like 2 years ago, I felt like when I went outside and I was doing inquiry, right? Same call, same structure, same setup, whatever. I felt very contracted, even though I was outside, because the frame was like, it wasn't just the compassion of the teacher anymore. It was like all these people walking past me, and like I could like project my own judgment onto them and in return experience that, right?
Yeah.
So I became more contracted with my inquiry 2 years ago. But then most recently, I think the day before your retreat, I had a session and we were like, our Airbnb checkout time was like 11 a.m. or whatever. And the session was like for 12. So I had to do it outside again. And this time I did it in Austin and it was remarkably different. Like I was like, much more myself like I would be if I was doing it on a couch inside my house.
Were you in public?
Yes, I was in public
Were
in Austin.
people walking by?
Yeah, it was like I found like a bench. It was like, it was like in the trail area. So there was like people walking the trail.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, that's cool. And what is inquiry for people who aren't familiar We're like, what the fuck is he talking about? What is he doing on
Yeah.
a computer?
I mean, I think there's like different flavors. So, like different schools and traditions will explain it in a different way. And like, obviously, I'm not a teacher, so I don't explain it in that way. But like, what I would say inquiry is like, is what we're doing on this call, right? So, I think one of the reasons this call is like making me feel so fucking alive and fucking induced with life is because it's quite literally inquiry. And I think like the fundamentals of inquiry is to maintain presence, right? So to be in your body, to be here now, and then to curiously explore whatever is arising, right? So it's very similar to what we're doing on this call. And that's why I think I feel so fucking good. It's because, like, you know, it's like both of us are playing ping pong with one another. And the nutrients that we're creating are the wins from our ping pong game. And those in return are feeding us, which we are digesting. And in return, we are becoming higher beings and feeling the fucking power as it.
So good. So good. So what's going on? Yeah, it's beautiful. Beautifully said. It's great. And I guess to circle it all back, like living one day as a real human being is, can you do inquiry all day?
Exactly. Dude, you nailed it. You fucking nailed it. Nailed it. Nailed it. It's like when I first started to do inquiry, I was like, oh, this is something that I do once an hour, once a week, right? So like I would do it once an hour and then I would be like off the cushion or whatever. And then I'll just go back into character mode, right? Maybe I have hits of presence here and there, whatever, right? Nothing fancy. And then the following week I would have another hour, right? But then what ended up happening was I was like, wait a minute. Inquiry isn't just something that I do once an hour. Inquiry is a way of life, right? So like I can approach every moment of my life with the same orientation that I approach inquiry through, which in return will enhance every moment of my life, whether I'm going on a walk or whether I'm, you know, making a shit ton of money through business. It doesn't matter.
Same shit.
Yeah, same shit, right? I prefer the business to be real. You know, I prefer the money to be honest, but you know, same shit, same shit.
Said that in voice and celebrate. Like you just
I gotta eat my own advice, right? I gotta eat my own advice. I gotta digest my own experience.
Okay, so what is happening in Tej's world?
Yeah. There's a lot cooking in my world. I feel like I'm approaching my world through the stance of inquiry. So I've really been feeling for the last little while, I would say like this entire year, where I'm quite literally living like day by day. And what I mean by that is like I remember like this time last year, whatever, like I would be very much in tune with like, oh, like for instance, if it was this time last year, I would be like, oh shit, bro, I'm going to Japan in August. Like I'd just be thinking about Japan all day. Right. But like I'll go to Japan when the day comes to go to Japan. It's not even real until that day comes, right? So it's like whether I'm going next week or whether I'm going in fucking 10 years, it's the same thing in this moment.
Yeah.
It doesn't even matter, right? Before I would just have these things on my calendar and have something to look forward to, and I would just like devalue the present moment. But what I've been experiencing as of recent, and it's really because a lot of the pain and the difficulty forces you to become much more present. I've been really experiencing each day, day by day, and I've really been allowing myself to get more in touch with my innate curiosity and creativity again, right? Like this morning, for instance, I woke up and instead of just hitting deep work, I walked to a park, sat on a park bench, put on classical music, and then I just like brought a journal and I just like wrote whatever was cooking for like 2 hours.
Epic.
Right. So I'm really approaching things on a day by day basis. And in return, it's like feeding a lot of stuff related to business, creation, relationships, whatever, adventure. And I feel like I'm truly starting to live in a much more real way. And that's been the result of actually feeling a lot of the pain and difficulty that has been arising in, you know, various areas, primarily relationships. But that's like where I'm at currently.
Yeah. That's beautiful. And that's where the painting or the drawing that you did as a kid came up in that practice?
that was like, yeah, that was like last week, and like I didn't even feel like, I just grabbed a notebook, right? This was like at the house, and I just grabbed a notebook, and all of a sudden I just started drawing that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I could imagine how much that adds to your day to day if you just put on some classical music, went to a park bench, and just started writing the truth of your experience. Like, what would happen?
Dude, 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 I was having like mystical experiences out there today.
Because,
I don't know what it was. Like the classical music was playing in my headphones. I was like, writing, journaling. Birds were chirping. The water was glistening. I was like, dude, am I like on a psychedelic right now? Like, what the fuck is happening right now? It just felt so good. But I think what you just shared is actually a very remarkable practice. For me, for a very long time, I knew my life would change if I just took out a journal and actually wrote the truth. But for a very long time, it was so difficult for me to even take out a journal and write the truth out of fear that somebody else might read this one day.
yeah, people do that, right? People hide the truth of their journal because they're scared that people will read it. Like that's a
Exactly.
practice that people do,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bro, that
And
is like when you're so scared of saying the truth, like you're scared to that point where you're
yeah.
filtering yourself to yourself. Bro,
Hmm.
that is such a
Dude,
painful.
so painful, bro. And I lived that. I lived it to the point where
Yeah.
I became so disconnected from, I couldn't even tell you what was true for me.
Yeah. I've been there. I've been
Yeah.
there. Yeah, that it's like you have a thought and then your next thought is like, wow, I hope like one, why is that thought there? Two, I hope no one heard that thought.
Exactly.
It's a fucking that's an
Dude.
oh my God. When you're denying your own thoughts is the fucking most painful reality.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. Even just feeling into it, like, it creates like an internal war. Now it gets to the point where it creates anxiety because before you even have the thought, you're scared to even have that thought.
Right.
Right. So
Right.
you become afraid of your own thoughts.
Which means
And you
you're
get
afraid of yourself.
exactly. And you get kicked out of your own kingdom. Now you're just a slave. Now you're just a peasant to yourself.
Oh, oh, yeah, it's painful.
But I think that practice is so crucial to just like rip open a journal and actually just rip out the truth, whatever it may be for you. I think just the act of doing that alone feeds your awareness, which in return actually leads to a lot of magic, because a lot of the stuff that we don't write down, that we're scared to write down, we think is not running us because we're not writing it down. But what's really happening is it's remaining in the darkness and it is running our entire life because we're not looking at it in the eye. Dude, that
Mic
needs to be
drop.
like a soundtrack. That needs to be a soundtrack, That's so fucking good. Like the first time you did it, I'm like, does Danny have like a fucking soundtrack? He just has a chair. Where the fuck did he bust that out of?
Oh, oh, it's good, man. That's good. It is running your life. You're just not admitting it to yourself that it's running your life. And it will continue running your life until you have awareness of it.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think that's like I think that out of like everything that I've learned, it's like the most important thing. It's like, what are you scared of? And can you look at it in the eye? And if you can do that, then you won't be scared of it. And the only reason you're scared of it is because you don't look it in the eye.
Yeah. 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 And if you were to actually look at it, you'd realize the anger that you feel isn't so bad. It's you being scared of the anger.
Dude. Dude.
And that is if you look at that and you accept that statement is true, like you're not scared of the grief. You're scared to feel the grief. You're scared to be in it. And that anxiety perpetuates. perpetuates because you're scared. You're scared of feeling that grief. You're scared of going there. But if you're actually there, you realize it's not anything to be scared of. And that's why it's almost more comfortable to stay scared. Because because it keeps you in your state and keeps you comfortable where you know you are instead of forcing you to expand.
Woo! I gotta hit you with my soundtrack after that.
I love the move.
I hit you with the woo!
I love that. Bro, did I tell you I went to one of David Sutcliffe's workshops?
Dude, I was just about to ask about
Of
that
course
when you
you
were
were.
talking about anger. I was just about to ask about that. His name just popped up into my awareness, and I was just about to take the conversation there. I kid you not. But go on. Go on.
He allowed myself, and I know my friend Alex Hardy as well, who went and wrote about this. He allowed us to actually live in rage, live in anger, and live. And if you look at when I went to I went to his program on day 3 or day 4 of the 30-day video series, and on day 12 I start 75 hard.
Wow, dude. Day 3. Wow, dude. That makes so much sense now.
Of course it does, because the anger got. I felt it, and so basically his workshop was feeling the anger, feeling the rage, feeling the sadness, feeling the lower states, and the purpose of doing that was to transcend it. And I did that in the container of probably 10 to 12 other men, and
wow,
it was so powerful, and it really forced me. It was so. What was really interesting about the experience was that 2 of the men represented people from my college experience.
wow.
I literally placed them mentally of like, oh, this is one of my college friends. This is my other college friend. This kid I like, this kid I hate. I was just like, oh my God, this is what I don't know these people. These people they just have the same energetic resonance of them, but they're not, they're completely different people. But I put them as that in my head. Yeah, and it was so powerful, man. David is so talented at what he does and at facilitating, of calling for what the moment needs, of following his own impulses. And I was really grateful to experience that. And it moved a lot of the anger for me and made me not demonize unconsciously my own anger, my own resentments, or my own lower states, and allowed me to open up and express those and be okay expressing them and feel good expressing them. So thank you, David. Appreciate you.
I'm so stoked to unpack this. First and foremost, I fucking love David. I think he's the fucking GOAT, bro. That guy is. I think he's on the cutting edge, and he's gonna quite literally run this new world. That's what I truly feel, a very intuitive feeling related to that.
Dude,
but
you told him on the podcast, on your podcast with him. You said that. You said like, you're gonna be a big part of the new world.
Yeah, and then I had dinner with him and his wife, and it was fucking remarkable. And just like meeting him in person as well, I echoed the same thing. It was like, dude, this guy is it. This guy gets it, and he's like, he can talk to a lot of different people that people usually can't talk to, and he's really connected to realness and truth. And he can play in today's environment as well. And I think everything related, tie everything together. That's a very powerful man. But anyways, I'm curious to unpack, what was the activity? Was like you have one of those baseball bats and you're like expressing your anger? You're like hitting something? Was that the activity?
Yeah.
Was there a moment when you were doing that and then you felt like you felt like your mind ceased to control your expression and you started to it started to get unpredictable and the anger was more uncontrollable? Did that moment occur during that process for you?
You know what's actually interesting is I don't think that moment occurred. And the reason why I don't think it occurred is because I didn't feel safe in the group. There was a part of me in the group that was like, these people can't fucking help me. And
Uh,
and they don't know me, and they don't know my pain that I'm going through, and nothing they do or could even impact me. Or like I had that energy, and or I didn't have that energy. I had some part of myself felt that way, which expressed itself, I'm sure, to the group. But and what was interesting is that in my rage, what happened was I went off, and then I was done going to the depths that I was willing to go in this container. But David was like, dude, there's something more here that needs to express itself.
mm-hmm.
And someone else fucking lost control and like went to another layer,
Uh-huh.
another level that in that moment I was incapable of going to.
Uh-huh. Dude, I mean, that exercise alone is so rich because it feels like when it comes to expressing various emotions, the mind usually has its hands around how much of that emotion can be expressed in a certain environment.
Yeah.
And it's still controlling the show, right? But like you notice that click when you see it in somebody where the mind is no
Is
longer
off.
in control. And that's really the fear, right? If I actually allow this fully out, it's going to lead to something that's going to be negative. That's what the mind thinks. So it keeps these emotions so safely, contained. Like my fear was like, man, if I truly feel this murderous rage, I'm going to go out and fucking kill somebody.
Right.
Right. Which isn't going to happen if you actually feel that. If you don't feel it, you have a greater chance of killing somebody because it's going to be unconscious. It's going to feed you from the darkness.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
But it's like that thing related to trust and safety. I think it's like so crucial, and that's why facilitators like David are actually so powerful because like when else are you going to have the container to go to that level?
Yeah.
You're not. You're
Yeah.
not gonna have that opportunity.
Yeah, because most people are not comfortable of going to that level where he has, and he's talked about. And so
you see it in David. You
right.
see it. You're like, this guy's gone there, and you sense it, and you it's fucking dope.
Right. He's gone to the levels of darkness that he knows whatever pops up is fine, and he's down for. And there's something really safe about him. And
yes.
but then, the thing is, it's like I felt like in that moment I needed the safety of everyone else.
Right.
And I needed to trust everyone else. And therefore I didn't want to go to that place. And yeah, I definitely moved a lot, got a lot done. But I could understand looking back on it how I would have showed up differently today to that, because I've created the safety within myself.
Right.
Versus when I was actually looking for them for safety, but not wanting them to play any role in my growth.
Right. It's like you want it, but you don't want to accept it. Day
Correct.
3 is very different, but that's exactly what was needed for day 3, right?
Correct.
It was perfect. It was fucking perfect.
That was the experience I needed to eat at that moment.
Dude. The callbacks are fucking legendary. The callbacks are so good.
You know what we should have for this? If this is going to be a weekly thing, I think people should send in questions.
That resonates.
I listen. Yeah, I listened to in part of my journey over the last couple of months. I was listening to Joe Hudson's podcast, and Joe Hudson co-hosts a podcast with Brett Kistler or Kersler. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that name. And they have people writing questions, and they have Q&A episodes. And I was like, just now, and I was like, wow, that'd be interesting to do with Tej. Just do a full Q&A episode. I think that would be so cool. Just to live in that. What do other people want to hear us talk about? Right? That would frame it in such a different way.
Yeah, that's legendary. I'm down to run it. I think it would be such a fun and rich exploration because I think we'll approach whatever question the same way we approach all our conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah. No cookie cutter bullshit.
No cookie cutter bullshit. Fuck yeah.
Fucking incredible.
Yeah.
Fucking incredible. Dude, I feel so much energy like just flowing through my entire body, and my heart feels like completely lit up.
Bro, me too. I gotta go work out right now. I gotta finish my second workout of the day for 75 hard.
Let's go.
This is
Let's
what I was
go.
planning on doing
Let's go.
when you initially called. Completely forgot about this. Was setting up a chair. Was ready to hit my second workout. Instead, Tej comes in and blesses us with 2 hours and 10 minutes of pure fire.
Dude, this is what you're gonna do when you spontaneously call people.
That's right.
They're gonna have their workout planned. They're gonna get a call from Danny 2 hours later. Dude, remarkable.
I'm gonna set up that spreadsheet tonight. Now that I got a chair.
Maybe by next week we'll have an update on the desk. You know,
Yes.
maybe.
Yes.
No pressure. We'll see.
Yes. Oh, desk is coming tomorrow. Desk is coming hot.
Nice. Nice.
Dude, I love you so much. This was incredible. I'm so grateful for your friendship. I'm so grateful for your support. I'm so grateful to be on this journey, on this floating rock in space with you. Wow. What a life. Real life.
Dude, that's one of my favorite Danny Miranda bars. What a life, real life. Like, dude, I'd say that all the time. That's like trickled into Canadian conversations on a daily basis. And if you ever hear that, that was created by you.
Kawhi
dude,
Leonard says it in a podcast.
Likewise, so much love for you. This was remarkable. And you know, it's really fascinating how like we have these conversations and then like at the end, we always end it with such appreciation to have had the honor to actually experience this together. And I think that's so fucking precious and so real. So much love for you. I love you. And this was remarkable. I'm fucking so high on life. And I just want to thank you for being in my life and for playing such a critical role in my life and for being a real friend.
God bless. See you next week, bro.
All right. Take care. Enjoy that workout, bro.
I will. Peace.
Peace.